A fire is nothing more than a chemical reaction that is commonly called combustion. Fuel combines with oxygen to produce large amounts of heat. Hello and welcome to the PSTN Basic Security Officer Training Series. I'm Bill Jackson. You know, when four things happen at the same place and at the same time, they produce a chemical reaction that is commonly referred to as a fire. The first element of a fire is fuel. Virtually anything can be fuel if we can get it hot enough. Next is oxygen. It's present everywhere, or we would not be able to function in that environment. The third element is heat. It can come from anywhere and everywhere. Put all three together and you get the fourth element, combustion. Now, not all fire is created equal. There are four basic classifications of fire, and you need to know what they are so you can look for those hazards in the places you patrol. Class A fires. These are fires consisting of things like wood, paper, cloth, the kinds of things found all over the average workplace. Class B fires. These are fires involving gas, oil, paint, kerosene, propane, anything liquid that will burn. Class C fires. These are fires in and on electrical equipment. If you unplug a Class C fire, it will probably become a Class B fire. Class D fires. These are burning metal fires and can be very hot and very dangerous. Fires usually don't start in an instant. Those that do are more properly referred to as explosions. Fire actually goes through a series of stages to get to the point where things are actually starting to burn. Each stage of a fire is more deadly than the one before. The stages of a fire are as follows. The incipient stage. No smoke or flame can be seen. There's no real heat yet, but the byproducts of combustion are being released in the form of gases. Unfortunately, we cannot see them yet. Next, the smoldering stage. No flame yet and only a little heat, but the chemical process of fire is starting to produce smoke. In this instance, there may be lots of smoke, which is unburned or wasted fuel. Third, the flame stage. Fire can now be seen clearly and more smoke is starting to be produced. The heat produced by the fire is at its lowest temperature, but it will start to rise very rapidly. The heat stage. The heat produced by the fire is increasing in temperature and at a rapid rate. The air around the fire is becoming superheated and it's starting to expand. When the oxygen is in an area consumed by the flames and heat, the fire will return to the smoldering stage. Now, when someone opens a door or a window and introduces fresh air into the area, the fire will flare up again. Firefighters call this a backdraft or smoke explosion as the smoke ignites very rapidly. This is why you always feel the door or the wall of a room before you enter. In its simplest form, the prevention of fire consists of keeping potential fuel sources away from potential heat sources. Now, we cannot realistically eliminate the air from the environment, so this is really the only real option that we have. Preventing a fire becomes an exercise in being observant while on patrol and recognizing a fire hazard when you see one. That means looking for the following types of things: carelessly discarded cigarettes and cigars, oily rags or papers, overheated equipment or machinery, unattended appliances like coffee makers or hot plates, improperly positioned heaters and heating equipment, improperly disposed of papers and other trash, improperly stored gasoline, oil, and other flammable solvents. Common sense will tell you when a combustible material is too close to a heat source. Make the area safe and report the incident to your supervisor. The responsible party may get a follow-up visit from management. Let's talk about a detection system. a detection system is in place to let us know when one of the byproducts of combustion is present in an environment. The byproduct could be a gas, a smoke particle, or heat. Some of the more common types of fire detection systems are the following. Fixed temperature detection. Ever notice those sprinkler heads sticking out of the ceiling? That's a fixed temperature detection system. In this system, a metal link is designed to melt when the temperature in an area reaches a certain level. When the link melts, it allows water to flow through the system, and a valve in the system detects the water flow and activates an alarm. Another type of fire detection is the rate of rise detection system. This system is activated when the air in an environment heats up at a rate that is beyond the limits of the system. In other words, the air heats up too quickly and the rapid heating triggers the system and an alarm. Ionization smoke detection systems. This system is common in homes. A small chamber in the device detects the presence of the products of combustion or ions, which in turn activates an alarm. Another device is the photoelectric smoke detection system. Smoke blocks a photoelectric beam which signals an alarm. This device is effective during the smoldering stage of a fire. Now, the final system we would like to talk about is the flame of flash detector. This device detects flash fire in very dangerous environments like an ammunition storage area. Most of these systems have an alarm that is wired into a central station location and sometimes directly to the local fire department. They're also wired to the outside of the area being protected to alert people in the vicinity of the alarm situation. There are a number of high-quality fire extinguishers available on the market. All of them are relatively easy to use, but all require some hands-on training on the part of people in the security profession. Now, they all work on one or more of four principles of fire suppression: removal of oxygen, removal of fuel, reducing the temperature, stopping the chemical chain reaction. Extinguishers are classified by the type of fire that they are intended to be used on. There are A, B, C, and D class extinguishers, and they are marked clearly with the appropriate symbols on the outside of the unit. The types of fire extinguishers that you may find in a work area will vary with the type of combustibles that are predominant. The basic types of extinguishers are, first, dry chemical. These are sometimes called powder extinguishers or purple K units if they contain potassium. They are usable on most types of fire, but be sure to check the markings. They work by creating a chemical cloud that cuts off oxygen from the fire. Next, carbon dioxide. It puts out fires by cooling and smothering them with a gas that will not burn and will not conduct electricity. It's good for B and C fires. Water, the oldest kind of fire stopper. It's good for A fires and is usually readily available. Do not use water on Class C fires because it will conduct electricity. Foam. These put the fire out by covering the area with a layer of foam that cuts off the oxygen. They're great for a Class B fire and can work on Class A fires as well. Now, they're not recommended for Class C or D fires. Next, halon or FM200. This chemical stops the fire by inhibiting the reaction between the fuel and the oxygen present in the area. They're most often used in high-tech areas where there's a great deal of expensive computer hardware. Now, halon FM200 leaves no residue after it's used, but it's very expensive to install and recharge. No matter what type of extinguisher you're using in your area, you're going to have to go through some training with the units. At a minimum, you should make sure of the following. Each extinguisher must be easily accessible. It cannot be hidden or blocked by boxes or furniture. Each extinguisher must work properly. That means it must be inspected and replaced if there's any question about its status. Each extinguisher must be clearly labeled as well. You have to know just by looking at it what type of fire it's intended to be used against. There's no substitute for practice. However, some guidelines do exist for using an extinguisher should a fire occur in your work area. First, assess the situation quickly. If there's any doubt that you will be unable to handle the fire, call the fire department first, then sound the alarm. Select the proper tool for the job. Be sure that the extinguisher that you grab is the correct one for the fire you plan to extinguish. Activate the unit the way the instructions say to activate it. No shortcuts or tricks. You have to get it working properly. Use the unit per their instructions. Normally, that means aiming the extinguishing agent at the base of the fire, not the flames. Use the entire contents of the unit. Make sure that the fire is out and/or the unit is empty. Next, maintain a safe route of escape. Do not get overconfident about the abilities of the extinguisher. It is the first line of defense only and is not intended to be the whole response. And finally, never turn your back on a fire. The basics of fire prevention are not that difficult. Most fire prevention is a simple application of common sense. That includes doing the following things while on patrol. First, look for violations of smoking regulations. Next, investigate any unusual odors, especially smoke and gas. Check for obstructed passages and fire doors. Remove obstructions from in front of fire alarms, hydrants, and alarm boxes. Check all gas, electric, and fuel oil heaters to make sure they're functioning properly and not overheating. Keep boxes, trash, and other debris away from heat sources. Disconnect unused electrical appliances. Make sure trash is being kept in proper trash containers. If the worst should happen and a fire should break out in your area, here are some basic guidelines to remember. First, call the fire department. Do not assume anyone else has done that. Direct all employees out of the fire area or building and keep them out after the evacuation. Notify and enlist the help of the fire brigade if you have one. Check and close all fire doors. Shut off machinery, power, and gas. Now, and only now, try to use an extinguisher if you reasonably think it will work. Post someone to direct the firefighters to the facility. Remove motor vehicles from the area. Stand by to assist the fire department. Now, when everything quiets down, write your report. Remember, there is no such thing as a fireproof anything. When it comes to protecting the area from fire threats, you are best advised to leave nothing to chance. Learn the fire prevention and response plans for your work site as quickly and as thoroughly as you can. The life you save may be your own. An accident has been identified as an unexpected event in which some physical contact is made between a worker and some object or some substance which causes an interruption of work. The accident event contains three basic elements. First, it's unexpected. Next, contact of some sort is made. Next, work is either stopped or delayed. Now, there are those who would argue that there is really no such thing as an unexpected event. They would say that the signs were present and either ignored or missed. They would also contend that an investigation into the accident would show that there was a place and a point in time where the whole thing could have been prevented had someone been paying attention to the conditions that allowed the accident to happen. In general, there are 4 major causes of accidents in the workplace. First, an unsafe act. Somebody did not follow a rule or a procedure and allowed an accident situation to develop. They either tried a shortcut or failed to use a piece of protective equipment the way it was supposed to be used. Next, personal factor causes. Someone was either tired or distracted or intoxicated or simply did not have their head in the game when it counted. Sometimes the cause can be traced to something as basic as a bad attitude. Next, unsafe working conditions. Equipment, materials, tools, machinery, or some other work-related device was not maintained like it was supposed to be. That would include things like leaky roofs, bad lighting, poor ventilation, and inadequate housekeeping. Source causes. These are things that happen due to normal wear and tear, but could have been spotted if someone had been watching. Source causes contribute to the accident. Now, as a security professional, you are a trained observer. Unsafe conditions are the kind of thing that should be a part of your patrol duties. When you see one, you have the duty to report it. You may not be able to fix it, but you can make sure that someone in authority knows about it. When you detect an unsafe condition, you should, at a minimum, record the following: the time, date, and exact location of the observation, the conditions as you saw them, the specific policy or rule that the condition violates, if you know it. If the safety violation occurs at the hands of an employee, you are duty-bound to report the following as well: the name of the person committing the violation, the sequence of events of the violation as you saw it. To do this well, and to do this in an effective way, you're going to have to stay current with the safety rules and regulations in your work area. You cannot enforce what you do not know about. In his book entitled Security and Loss Prevention, Philip Purpura outlined a security investigation into an accident in the following way. First, respond quickly. This reinforces the idea that loss prevention personnel are on the job, and it shows to employees that management cares. Find out who was involved, where it occurred, when it happened, who was injured, and what was damaged. Try to pinpoint the cause. Investigate the possible direct and indirect causes. Study equipment, work procedures, and the employees involved. Estimate the injuries and the losses in terms of costs. Use a standard accident report that fits management's requirements and aids in the investigative process. Maintain an open mind since the possibility for a staged event exists. If necessary, complete the required government forms and papers. Prepare information for the safety committee concerning the accident and its causes. Follow up on corrective action to ensure safety. It's important to do all that you can to try and prevent the same type of incident from happening again. Try to concentrate as much effort and time as you can on determining the exact cause of the accident. Not only will this keep other people safe, it will also have an impact on the expenses that are generated by a lost time type of accident. There is no workplace that is hazardous material or hazmat free. These types of materials exist in every possible configuration and location. Although we've come a long way in our understanding of how to deal with emergencies involving hazardous materials, we're still learning what the best ways really are. Teams are now an important part of the response plan, and you should know if your organization has one available. But team or no team, there are some things that you need to do if you have a chemical spill in your area. First, activate the response plan that is part of your manual. Get the wheels rolling, as this is important and you need to do it as soon as possible. Time is a critical factor in a good response. Try to identify the substance that's been released. Check the transportation placards, shipping papers, inventory lists, anything you can find that will tell you what you're dealing with. Once you know, you can check the material safety data sheet in order to get more information about the substance and how to handle it. Try to find out how much of the substance has been released. How much did the container actually hold? It may have been partially empty, but you need to respond as if the full contents were released. Try to determine the extent of the damage. How large of an area has been contaminated by the substance? Who's been hurt? Treat the area like a crime scene and set up barriers to keep people out. When the response team arrives, they will need to know what type of scene they're dealing with. You may have to establish perimeters and set up security protocols for each level to ensure that the proper people get in and out. You could also find yourself involved setting up and assisting in evacuation of the area. That plan will need to be pulled down and activated as well. From the time it takes to contain and deal with the spill, your department is going to be very, very busy. You will probably be involved in the coordination and communication processes of a number of emergency response teams and several government officials. There may be injured people to deal with as well. Transportation will have to be arranged for them, and it may involve the establishment of a decontamination area before they can leave the site. There's also the possibility that company or organizational equipment may have been damaged or contaminated, and you may be involved in the security of those items too. An average hazmat incident does not exist. Each one is a new and different experience. They will all have to be secured, handled, processed, and documented, and the security organization will be involved in it every step of the way. Get prepared. That's our program on fire protection and life safety. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on PSTN.